in Proverbs 6, it says, can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? This is where we get the colloquialism. If you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And if you're going to be a man with power and be sexually promiscuous and given to our sex positive culture, you are playing with fire. Josh Giddey, who is a star on the Oklahoma Thunder basketball team, he's from Australia. I think he was taken 6th in the 2021 draft. He's a young guy. He's 21 years old. He has found himself in serious hot water over allegations of an inappropriate relationship with an underage girl. This is CBS Sports reporting. It says Josh Giddey allegations, NBA police investigating if Thunder player had inappropriate relationship with minor. The NBA has opened an investigation into whether Oklahoma City Thunder guard Josh Giddey had an inappropriate relationship with a minor league spokesman, Mike Bass said on Friday. The police department in Newport Beach, California is also looking into the matter. They said Wednesday they are aware of information being circulated online involving an alleged relationship between professional basketball player Josh Giddey and a female minor and are actively seeking additional information related to these allegations. Allegations against Giddey first emerged on social media on November 22nd. Giddey remains eligible to play and has suited up for the Thunder since allegations surfaced. Now, the allegations seem, on the surface, kind of airtight. I mean, this guy really seems like he is in trouble. I'm not going to show any of the social media posts because allegedly this is a young woman who is a minor, and I don't think it's appropriate to be putting her face all over social media if, in fact, she is a minor. She does seem like someone who is out. There's videos of her in 21 and up clubs, maybe not making the best decisions in life. And to kind of just describe the seriousness of the allegations, the posts are like him with her on video, sending videos to her brother, or him with her, with him not wearing a shirt with the title saying, I had sex with Josh Giddey. So, I mean, about as damning as you can get as it comes to circumstantial evidence. And we're going to have to see, everyone has all kinds of speculations and rumors, and maybe she actually is in her 20s and everyone has her mistaken. But it seems like she is in high school and he is 21 and that this is a really bad situation. Now, he's still playing. And so it's a lot of people are wondering what the league knows that we don't know. And apparently the girl and her family have gone radio silent, which is probably a wise move at this point, legally speaking. And so how do we process this? And people have all kinds of takes on this. Josh is still on the floor. He's getting booed every time they play out of town, which is something he has probably rightfully earned and taken upon himself. Everyone is pointing out the disparity between how Giddey is being treated and how some other people like Ja Morant have been treated, who was suspended and really didn't do anything illegal, just did something really unwise and was asked not to continue brandishing firearms and then did it again, right? So got himself in some serious trouble. It's going to be interesting to see how the league handles this and how this shakes out. However, in the cultural conversation around this, no one is getting to the root of the issue here. And the root of the issue isn't something that you can just find in the cultural milieu. It's not something that can be determined by utilitarian. The core of the issue is a moral issue and a spiritual issue, which we learn all the way back in the ancient wisdom of Scripture. And the problem is that we have a sex-forward, sex-positive culture who says that our expectation should be to understand whatever our deepest sexual desires are and then live those out. And really the only constraints culturally that we're putting on sexual activity are consent, and then within the idea of consent, age, because we say you can't actually consent up until a certain age. And so we've kind of destroyed the legitimacy of most of our arguments about why this would even be wrong, other than saying we have set a somewhat arbitrary standard that until the day somebody turns 18 years old and 1 minute, then they can't, fully consent because they're not legally an adult. And while I'm for that, increase the age of consent for all I care, there's a deeper issue here. And the deeper issue is a sex-positive culture that says that there should be no constraints on sexuality. And you have someone who is a celebrity and who has power and who has a platform been throwing themselves at him, and he's a handsome young Australian guy, so he's got a better accent than any of us do. And he is just used to having the pick of the litter sexually. And this is not a sustainable way for our culture to continue living. And we have seen this, the power imbalance of men in Hollywood with the Time's Up and the Me Too movement. And we questioned it because of power imbalance, which is correct. And we questioned it because of lack of consent, which is correct. But we didn't question it at the deepest level, which is why we are still having so many problems, multitude of problems within the umbrella of sexual issues in our society. We're not willing to go to the actual moral and spiritual argument against this. We're not willing to go to the place where we submit ourselves to a transcendent standard for sex. And because we don't have a transcendent, which just means outside of us, an objective standard saying, here's how it's supposed to work, then it's just up to us. And we're kind of picking and choosing, and we're guessing what's right. And you're comfortable with some things and someone else is not comfortable. But at the end of the day, if there's not an objective standard, then while we might be completely incensed by this because she's a minor, because she's in high school, somewhere else in the world, in other places where there is no age of consent, or where the age of consent is much lower in those cultures, we might not be comfortable with that. But if there is no God setting the standard, that's just really your opinion. And so what Josh did is wrong here, and it's wrong in this culture because of the ethical framework we have created from scratch. But you couldn't really say it's objectively wrong or that it's wrong in a different country. And yet, you know, somewhere in the depths of you, that for a 21-year-old NBA star to be hooking up with a 15, 16, 17-year-old high schooler, you just know it's wrong. You know it's wrong at the deepest part of you. It's objectively wrong. And if it's objectively wrong, then there's objective morals. And if there are objective morals, then there is an objective moral standard. If there are objective laws that we live by, there's a law giver outside of us giving those laws to us. And that is God. And he has revealed these things to us in his word. In Proverbs 6, it says, can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? This is where we get the colloquialism, if you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And if you're going to be a man with power and be sexually promiscuous and given to our sex positive culture, you are playing with fire. And you better just hope that if they say they're 19 or 20, that they actually are. And you better do your research, and you better be aware of social media, and you better be aware of pregnancy scares, and you better be aware of people with bad intentions, and you better pay attention to who's watching. If you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. In 1 Corinthians 6:18, this is why Paul tells us, flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against their own body. Flee from it, run from it. And Corinth was a place rife with sexual immorality. I mean, it was just everywhere. And it gives even modern day West a real run for its money. In the book of Proverbs, it personifies lust and tells this story of a young man dealing with lust that is appropriate for our conversation today. It says, at the window of my house, I looked through my lattice. I saw among the inexperienced, I noticed among the youths, a young man lacking sense. Crossing the street near her corner, this is the personification of lust, he strolled down the road to her house at twilight in the evening, in the dark of the night. A woman came to meet him dressed like a prostitute, having a hidden agenda. She is loud and defiant. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the square, she lurks at every corner. She grabs him and kisses him. She brazenly says to him, I've made fellowship offerings today. I've fulfilled my vows. So I came out to meet you, to search for you, and I found you. I've spread coverings on my bed, richly colored linen from Egypt. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink deeply of lovemaking until morning. Let's feast on each other's love. My husband isn't home. He went on a long journey. He took a bag of silver with him and will come home at the full moon. She seduces him with persistent pleading. She lures with flattering talk. He follows her impulsively like an ox going to the slaughter, like a deer bounding toward a trap until an arrow pierces its liver, like a bird darting into a snare. He doesn't know it will cost him his life. Now, sons, listen to me and pay attention to the words from my youth. Don't let your heart turn aside to her ways. Don't stray onto her paths, for she has brought many down to death. Her victims are countless. Her house is the road to Sheol, descending to the chambers of death. Again, this isn't like calling out some one particular promiscuous woman. This is the personification of lust itself, how it entices you, how it preys on your naivety, how it pulls you in and brings you places you don't want to go. And ultimately, like an ox led to slaughter, it will bring you down to your destruction. And many, many, many powerful men with incredible potential have been undone by their own lust and their lack of discipline to be able to take their impulses and master them instead of being mastered by their impulses. If you enjoyed this clip, make sure you check out the full podcast and subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all new content. You can also support the channel at patreon.com/Clayton Tyner. Link is in the description below.